This is Girlschool. They are a Brit new wave band of heavy metal. In 1978, they are associated and compared to Motorhead. They've been active for over 40 years, making them the longest tenured all-female rock band. Formed from an actual school band called Painted Lady. As Girlschool, their heyday was the early 80s with 3 albums of punk-flavored metal. But as with so many others, the 90s were reserved for Seattle bands, and Girlschool was never grunge-worthy. Even so, they have maintained a cult following with fans all over the world. Current members are Kim McAuliffe, Denise Dufart, Tracy Lamb, and Jackie Chambers, and past members are Kelly Johnson, Gil Weston, Chris Bonacci, Jackie Bottomede, and Jackie Carrera, and Enid Williams. In 1975, Kim McAuliffe met Dinah Enid at school in Wandsworth in South London. They connived to form an all-girl rock band and brought in Tina Gale on drums. Painted Lady was at first a cover band. Deirdre Cartwright came in on lead guitar, and Val Lloyd replaced Gale on drums. The reason we're all girls is because we couldn't find any blokes who wanted to play with us. That's a quote. McAuliffe explained, "I think that's more of a comment on the good old boys of rock and roll, upset that here were women who sounded better than they did in many occasions. So many of the blokes aren't we happy we're all woke and evolved today in 2020. The name Girlschool was taken from a Paul McCartney and Wings B-side of their hit single Mull of Kintyre. Lemmy Kilmister was so impressed with Girlschool that he offered for them to tour with Motorhead, and this was the beginning of a long, friendly relationship between the two bands. And this got Girlschool signed with Bronze Records. The timing was more than fortunate. Girlschool were signed to a big label at the dawn of the NWOBHM, which, as you well know, means New Wave of British Heavy Metal, which became such a watershed for many metal bands in the early 80s. Demolition was their powerful debut LP in 1980. Girlschool toured with Black Sabbath and Uriah Heep to promote it. By July, it charted up to 28 in the UK. Heavy metal bands were now in demand, charting high all over, and the media was all over them. The novelty of a successful all-female band was exploited, and the glass ceiling was demolished. All the patient work of Pat Benatar, the Runaways, Suzi Quatro, even Grace and Janice would now open the door for women musicians worldwide. What a great job. It was now possible to look past gender, to enjoy music for music's sake. Yes, people, this is a big deal. As always, the touring takes determination, and sometimes roster changes are a necessity. And the problem is that the sound is altered and fair-weather fans fall away. Album sales go down. Girlschool, as suddenly as their rise to fame had been, went downward in a spiral. Not because of their sound or they had new personnel, just because the rock scene, it just changes faster now, even faster than every 10 years like it used to. Now it's like every 6 years, there's a whole new ball game. You got to kind of keep up with that. You find yourself on a farm club. You just got to keep slugging. And that's what Girlschool did. But how to keep that up for that many years? Vicky Blue, former bassist with the Runaways, came in, replacing Kelly Johnson. But worse news, Bronze Records was nearly bankrupt. Ouch. Girlschool signed with Polygram in '84, and the album Running Wild was a commercial failure. They lost their contract again. It was time for a reorg. And they signed with new label GWR in '86 for another stab at the beast. And the new album Nightmare at Maple Cross was considered a return to their original harshness. Reviews were good, but no charts. Extreme metal forms and grunge was now the new bright penny. Yeah, that's a mixed metaphor. My apologies. And Girlschool nearly broke up. Nearly. This is when the band's cult status began. So they persevered. There was good news. Kelly Johnson came back, and then she left again in '99. Enid Williams returned, and Jackie Jacks Chambers took over on lead guitar. Kelly Johnson sadly died of spinal cancer in 2007. And Enid Williams left again, and Tracy Lamb returned. And no, I have not fully explained how many lineup changes there have been. Suffice to say that there are now plenty of female players to choose from, and that is progress. Here are the discs. 1, Demolition in '80. Demolition Boys. Hard with clean vocals. Not for sale. Take It All Away. That's a 12 bar. Nothing to Lose. This is better than the Blackhearts. At first. 2, Hit and Run in '81. That's a Barracuda. Nah, that's a Buick Riviera. I'm Your Victim. Following the Crowd. Tush, that is a ZZ Top. Cover title track, Hit and Run. Next comes Screaming Blue Murder in '82. Live With Me, that's a Stones cover. Take It From Me, Wildlife. It Turns Your Head Around. Don't Call It Love. Hellraiser is the best track. 4, Play Dirty in '83. Arena Rockers, more pop than previous. 5, Running Wild in '85. Let Me Go, Nowhere to Run, more pop than previous again. 6, Nightmare at Maple Cross in '86. Of course, now we return back to the harsher roots, and of course, we sell more albums that way. Did somebody in the label executive offices come around and say, "Oh yes, girls, we must do something a little more mainstream"? And that's when the records stop selling, when they do that, 7 is Take a Bite in '88. 8 is Girlschool in '92, and now they're back the way they want to be. 9, 21st Anniversary. It's Not That Innocent. That was in '02. 10, Believe in '04. 11, Legacy in '08. 12, Hit and Run Revisited in 11, and in 13 is Guilty as Sin, and that was in 15. What have they done for the last 5 years? Well, like I said before, they're still out there doing this. Been at it for over 40 years. And fans know this. I'm probably talking to people right now who perhaps have not been fans in the past. Well, if I've done anything to sway you over to our side, then I've had a good day's work. Thank you for being with me. I'll see you next time on my show, No Name.